I would go over roll call. George? David?
Here.
Coralie? Tyler?
Absent.
I believe that. Myself? Jeff? Pat? Angela has sent regrets. She is ill. And Matt just put his hand up ahead of me, so he's fine. I would like us to pause for a moment and seek guidance. Okay, I would like us now to start with the approval of the agenda.
I move approval.
Is there
sorry.
any additions or deletions?
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Apparently there's none. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next were the minutes of March 8th. Is there any errors or admissions?
I move approval of the minutes for March 8th.
I'll second it.
Nobody had any errors? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. There is no presentations or delegations this evening.
Woohoo! Oh, this is looking good. Feeling good, Linda.
Mm-hmm. Next is unfinished business from the minutes of March the 8th. Is there anyone who wants to bring up any unfinished business?
I don't recall nothing.
Okay. So then we will go to the CAO reports. The first is on October. On April the 19th is the audit committee. And I have sent my regrets, and Matthew will be doing the meeting. He'll be chairing the meeting for me. April the 26th is my anniversary.
Oh,
and I will be here even though it's my 47th wedding anniversary. You know, just like a child, because I'm only 45. I've been married 2 years longer than I've been alive.
Good luck.
Very good.
You've been married 2 years longer than I've been alive.
Go to your room. May 3rd, we have bylaw and policy at 5 p.m. On May 10th, we have committee of the whole. On May 17th, remember at 5 is public works, which should now say, they say bracket TIR to remind us.
Where am I? Where are we? Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
And then we have our bylaw and policy. And April the 24th, we have council. And May 31st, there's no meeting. On saying that, is there any questions on the CAO update? I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. On March 31st, the province has asked the municipality and town to pause on the role of this program. Discussion is ongoing with the province. At the RCMP complement review, Warden Gregory brought up concerns during the NSFM meeting, and now we are looking at the possibility of a joint letter being sent from us and the town, or the town and us, whichever is proper. Under the asset management, the MMS, which is Tyler, is in discussion with the AIM network. Pardon me?
Through 1 minute.
Oh, about the next phase of the asset management planning for the municipality. Under coastal, the province has released some preliminary information for their consulting session last summer and fall. We are reviewing and will address with council in the future. Regional planning, the committee received 4 bids and is in the process of evaluating the bids. Mandatory planning, the PAC is meeting monthly on this work and is progressing well. I like the way I read that. The next one, municipal services, has presented the draft policy at the Digby committee. At the February committee of the whole. The policy was approved during the February 22nd council meeting. The rural internet, of course, it's ongoing discussion with Evan and Mr. Brandon, Development of Scotia. The Martin School has been handed over.
Oh.
So remember, that is now done as of February the 18th.
Matt, you gotta get a celebratory tattoo.
Yeah.
buried around the, the lake.
Has there been any word from Compass? Are they making any progress on the loan or their grant?
That would be Jeff, but
Yeah, I haven't talked to them recently. They had received a portion of their funding. They were just waiting on that last piece. They were hoping to hear on that in the near future. I haven't heard if they were updated on that.
Well, there's more urgency than ever, so.
No, but nice to see some
positive. I bet
nice
you
to see some trucks in the yard or activity going on.
Yeah, for sure.
it will happen.
Breathe sigh, yeah.
Yeah.
COVID-19, we'll continue to follow the public health recommendations from the province, which I think we're doing an excellent job as. Also, on the lobster dispute, we have an ongoing email communication, and we have a meeting set up tomorrow. That's right, I was thinking.
Oh, stressed out about that.
It was supposed to be an in-person meeting, and I had asked for morning online, but they had it in the afternoon. And because we have a PAC meeting at 5, which has worked out lucky for me, because I was going to ask for it to be on Zoom for me.
Yeah, this is more important. That's more important than PAC meeting. No offense, Tyler.
No. But now we have decided that we're going to all meet by Zoom and have an in-person one later.
Oh, good.
So, I mean, I plan on
I'm curious. I'm
participating.
worried. I'm like always. I'm worried. I feel like we've dodged a bullet that there hasn't been someone killed so far, and I'm just worried that the government's just going to let everything just go straight ahead again. I don't like it. It's a sort of anxiety. So communicate that, please.
Oh, speaking
I know. Everybody's communicating, but no one's listening.
Oh, I think they are.
Are they? And
I mean,
Ottawa?
does everything up? Well, let's wait till my next meeting.
okay, tell me. I love it.
That's the
Positive
best I
update.
can say. We're trying to be very positive, because if you're not. So the next is the department
That's not helpful.
reports. Does anyone have any questions on any of the department reports? There were the dog control, the dispatch, airport, manager of corporate services, manager of municipal services, Terry Thibodeau's.
It's nice to see more activity in the building department with all the applications. Yeah. Whereas last month there was only 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Is there a bunch?
Yeah.
Wow.
Somebody got on 217.
Yeah, that's in my district.
Oh.
It doesn't count.
I liked how that meeting went last night.
Very good meeting.
Yeah.
But is there questions on any of the departmental
No.
reports? Again, they're well done. And of course, we saw the municipal building permits, and then the town building permits. And I like the two separately, personally. No questions? No comments? Except they did excellent reports?
Oh my God.
Okay.
These pens. I got through 10 of them, I bet, in the last 2 days.
Okay, under dangerous and unsightly premises, we have nothing.
Nothing.
Then we have the Coastal
Protection.
Act under business items. Now,
So I wanted to include this. So we went through the consultation last summer, and then they extended it. Remember, this was the consultation that was restricted, and then they opened it up. So they issued a combination of stuff. So I sent the email out separately because they updated their web pages, and then they created a couple of documents. So these are summary documents. Tyler's going to run through a few of the details with you. I do think we feel that they heard the concerns that we've heard here, and they are addressed. Well, I guess addressed might be, the concerns are recorded in these documents. We will see when the regulations come out if they adjusted anything. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Tyler. So we just wanted to make sure, so this is an update. The province should communicate with us again before these regulations come out, but this will have large impacts for our community and our residents, right? Tyler's just gonna highlight a few of those.
Yes, I'll just give you guys a quick Coles Notes summary on this. So as you guys likely know, the Coastal Protection Act was passed back in 2019. So what they're doing right now is they're working on the regulations, so the more specific rules that will be in place, right? And what it looks like it's essentially going to be is there's going to be a protection zone that'll probably be 80 to 100 meters from the high water mark.
Wow, that's going to ruin everybody's good plans.
So basically, if your property falls within that mark, there's going to be assessment report you need done. There's going to be certain setbacks, certain minimum.
My house is probably 80 feet from, not even.
So it's going to, and it would affect additions to existing properties. So that's basically it. There's going to be a zone that's a protected zone. There's going to be setbacks and minimum elevations, and there's going to be assessment reports required for instance, to get a building permit or a development permit.
When will this be kicking? I imagine there's going to be a flurry of people trying to get in money before
I think we're already seeing that. Yeah, I think
maybe that was why there were so many.
It could be, yeah, it very well could be. So this has a pretty significant effect on municipalities. So I guess the first would be that our building inspectors and the development officer will need to be educated and aware of the requirements. This is all going to be new for them. And the province is supposed to be providing education. So they're going to be able to review these assessment reports, understand them, make sure they're in line with the new rules. They're also going to need to know when one is required. Like if you have property on the water, you don't know you need this. You're going to go to our building department wanting a building permit.
Oh, what a blow!
Yeah, we need to be able to tell you actually you need to get one of these reports done. So another effect will be that obviously permit applications will be delayed. Right, it's going to take more time to approve permits. So people are used to very quick turnarounds.
Yes,
in our municipality, and it's going to delay things. Right, it's the way it's going to be. And another thing is municipalities, councillors, our staff, we're on the front line. We're going to hear a lot of response from residents about this, right? So there's going to be residents that this affects, and we're going to hear about it, right? So those would be the...
Can you talk a little more about the report that they do?
Yep, so basically it's an assessment report. So there's going to be designated professionals that are trained to do these reports. They don't exist currently. So it could be surveyors, it could be
So
engineers.
if you wanted to do within the 80 feet, you still possibly can
you
get
can.
it done.
A report
you
will
just
be
need
done.
the assessment, i.e.
Yeah.
we're actually 20 feet up in the air, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, or the report will be done and it'll say based on your very specific situation, you can do what you want, but it needs to be at this height or this
Oh, what a headache that'll be.
whatever, right?
You'll be fighting all
So
over the
that
place.
was actually one of our concerns that once you read this, you will see it's mentioned is that there's nobody currently that can do these reports. And it's already hard enough to get surveyors and those types of people currently, so that's another delay that we might see, right? So it might take people a long time to get these reports done, which will further delay things.
That's a lot of red tape, yeah.
But as Jeff said, all the concerns that we had as far as the education of our staff, the timeliness of permits, the availability of these designated professionals that will do the reports, those were all concerns we had. They're all addressed, at least in the documents we have from the province. Whether they are actually identified and dealt with in the actual regulations that come about will be another thing, but they were heard and they are mentioned. So
Is there any mention of a timeline?
no mention of a timeline, but I think there is mention many times on the urgency of this being needed. So I think it's going to be a pretty close timeline.
Really?
They've been gathering, so I think one of the challenges, so this measurement from the high water mark back is key. So they've been working on, I think, the LiDAR and the GIS mapping. So most units are like ours now and using digital mapping for this, right? And that'll be the tool that identifies it. So they've been working hard to gather that information. So I think there's some real technical feedback that they got through this process from surveyors and stuff. Like you've been around, I'm going to say you're area enough, David, to know even getting different professionals to agree on what is kind of the legal high water mark. What does the federal government, provincial government, a lawyer, a land surveyor. So there's a real
thousands of more acres than there is on those islands.
There's some real technical parts that are being sorted through, but I think this is seen as a priority. The wording in here, as Tyler said, it's high priority because they already passed the act. This is just fine-tuning the regulations. I think we're going to see this relatively quickly. I guess when I say relatively quickly, I think within the next 12 months.
Wow, that fast. I thought relatively
This has
a
been
couple of
being
years.
worked on for quite a while.
2019.
I read they wanted it by June when people are construction, like I wouldn't be surprised.
This summer.
My question is, do we still get to say anything about some of the regulations?
No, the public consultation's over now.
It's over.
This is it, right?
The way I read it, it sounded like you could still email in, but.
Right, but I think we said all of our concerns are recognized in here, right?
They definitely heard them, and like I took part in the consultation sessions. They were mentioned, but
Yeah, and like I said, they're recorded here, and they've heard them. The municipal concerns are generally very similar from all.
Yeah, we'd all have the same concerns, so we usually do.
But yeah, I don't think we're going to see regulations by June. I don't think they have the professionals in place yet to address this, or the training materials out to have building departments assess this, but I think it is going to come out quickly, and I think we've seen this government maybe move on a few things quicker than past governments have, so this could.
Yeah, they do seem to have a bit of a.
Could roll out quickly, so like I say, you certainly will hear lots from us as this comes into play, or anything we hear, but we just wanted you to, there's some good information in here, but it is gonna have every one of our districts is impacted, right? Nobody.
There's many people freaking over this.
I don't know, George.
Tyler, is there anything in there about, about logging, like 100-meter setback for buildings or construction? Or what about somebody had a 50-acre lot along the beach somewhere and it goes back a couple, 200-300 yards? Are they allowed to cut that off without?
the only thing I can say is there was something mentioned about other uses of property, like besides buildings. So I don't know if you recall, Jeff, specifically, but I don't know if I saw logging mentioned.
So I think that the trigger is going to be you don't need a building permit from us for logging.
No.
So that wouldn't bring you into this building to fall under this, right? From the side of this that we're seeing.
So you'd be able to clear cut that or cut it off if you.
It would seem now whether, again, if there's a different provincial agency that has a lens on this, but as far as any communication that's coming to us, it's going to be building permit specific, right? That's going to be, we're not going to identify or communicate with property owners that just have land. It'll be when you come in and you want a building permit, we'll look you up on the map. Kind of like zoning, right? Are you in the Conway zoning or the Wellfield? It'll be that exercise, and then looking at, do you need a report? Are you outside of it? And that kind of information.
I could gather they had decided that they were going to let people who have homes in the coastal zone now be able to expand on their homes. If you wanted to build like a porch or deck or a gazebo, they haven't decided that yet.
No, I was just going to say, I think there's a fair bit of feedback on trying to figure out, so I think those of you familiar with PAC, grandfathering is always a very challenging discussion, right?
Especially in the islands where nothing is permitted in the
There's
first
a separate discussion, I believe, taking place on decks and gazebos, and then there's a different discussion on, so if your home was 1,500 square feet when this rule came in, you can do renovations, but you're only supposed to have 1,500 square feet after the renovations. Now again, that's not set out in the regulations yet. I think there's a lot of feedback over that, right? So I think where this is going to be, and that'll be the details that our departments, and that's some of the training, but they'd like that, they've asked for that to be crystal clear, because that will be one of those areas where we already have a lot of development, like in our area. Right?
All those houses
What
in
happens
Westport,
with
every one of them
grandfathering will be a very interesting part of these regulations.
I mean, I would hope that they would look at the front of the house. It's going to see flooding before the back of the house. So if you wanted to put a porch or something on in behind, you'd still be.
He wants to look at the backyard.
You know, you've got people who bought coastal homes, and I mean, they may have a drain 20 years down the road that they wanted to put like a sun porch on or something like that. Just haven't been able to afford it. And now all of a sudden, boom, you can't do that. I think they would take that into...
Same with the islands. Look at all those houses in Westport.
I would say yes, but those sun porches being built and falling into the water is how we ended up with this regulation being required. Because people are actively doing that, not making the best choices.
Like that house that fell into the ocean down Tiverton.
Erosion, right? So, like I say, it will be very, but that's until they nail down the regulations, and we don't know, I don't think I've seen anything that, whether we will see the regulations before they're passed or not.
Yeah.
But like I say, this will be a topic, certainly, again, at any of your conferences, if there's presenters on it, I would encourage you to follow along, because this is gonna, I mean, to be fair, with the outline of Nova Scotia, this affects most municipalities, right?
Yeah.
But it is gonna affect ours. Like I said, we're 5 for 5. Every district has significant coastal community development.
Oh, yeah.
So this is gonna impact.
150, every building built 150 years ago, right up to the edge. Like, jeez, about half of my houses are probably close to half.
150 years ago, they weren't on the edge.
That's true. That's
I mean,
true. Oh, there were
my
some
grand-
spots around
Or
me.
my husband's grandparents' home disappeared into the water several years ago because it just kept eroding. And yet, when it was built, it was a lawn and everything around it.
We have defined borders because of the rock, so we don't get that. But previously, we did have, yes, on the other side there was fields, on the other sides of the breakwaters.
Yeah, so I guess my one takeaway would be this is going to have a very significant impact on our building department.
Westport.
Mhm.
And I would encourage each of you councillors to read what was included in the package, because you will get
Mhm.
questions.
All right, I'm
Oh,
gonna.
yeah.
No,
I'll
great.
pour over.
There is a lot to it.
I'm gonna maybe.
Oh, it's going to, so between the work the current PAC is doing with the minimum mandatory planning standards and this on top of it, the process, and we certainly will be talking to this group more about this, but the process and the timeline for getting a permit, the days of walking into the counter and walking out of this building with a building permit in your pocket will be over when these rules come into effect, right? We'll need time.
Even for the ones that are further back and not on the water's edge.
Well, I would think we're gonna need the time to determine that,
Yeah,
right?
I suppose,
So
yeah.
putting our staff in a spur of the moment
Who knows?
position at the front counter is unlikely to be. So like I said, we'll talk about those service standards and what's going to happen, but those two things are gonna end up between zoning and this rule impacting an awful lot of the district, right?
That's gonna be a lot of work for those guys then. Are we gonna still have the same capacity? Because previously.
It's going to increase their workload, there's no question.
Okay.
But they should be able to do it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on this? All right, then we are going to move on to correspondence. You saw the thank you from Diane Accent, and the other was on the Lyme disease.
I'm gonna put a warning in passages. I got a write-up last year, a few years ago, from one of the vets, but now everybody's getting it, so maybe I'll see what the province has and put it in passages.
Remember, we do not do proclamations, but I was going to ask, is there a way we could put on Facebook that people just remind them that there is a Lyme disease awareness and that we
Yeah, I think
do-
out of that material or something else, we
Yeah.
can definitely put something on
Yeah,
Facebook.
and that Lyme disease is in southwest Nova.
Crazy.
Is in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
With Lunenburg.
COVID, Lyme disease, man, we got it all.
Could there be a link connecting to the Lyme disease article about symptoms and?
Should we put something in the
I'm
post
sure
line?
there's something that with
Is
the
there-
papers.
There's something there already, that's fine.
Yeah,
If not,
and-
then
And Tyler will deal with
Yeah.
all that through Jeff.
Yep.
I feel like when I did that, Tyler will deal with that through Jeff.
Well, hopefully hurry up and get a Lyme disease vaccine. They got them for dogs, but for some reason it's a little more, takes a little more time for a human.
Okay, next is in camera.
I
And
mean,
we're
we
going
go-
to be doing legal. So, I'm going to ask, Pat, are you staying for this one?
Yep.
So if we would just shut the doors and I would have a motion. Camera.
So moved.
Is there a seconder?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.